Oh, hey, I didn't notice you there. I was too busy playing one of my favorite systems of all time. And if you didn't know why you were here today, if you didn't somehow read the title, yes, that's what we're going to talk about. One of the things I want to talk about on this channel is games that you should get, or games that I love, that I grew up with, or games right now that I'm enjoying. And if I'm going to give people suggestions, or if I'm going to talk about games I think people should play, you should probably know the systems and games that influenced me over time and the systems that I like. What we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be giving you my top 10 favorite systems of all time, and that includes handhelds as well as consoles. Spoiler alert, there's a system in here that just might not be there, and if you know me, you know it's not going to be there. And if you do know me, you know what this list is going to consist of. But let's get right into it. Coming up at number 10, and let me start by saying the first two consoles that we're going to talk about here, I feel sometimes are overrated, but I did enjoy them and they are some of my favorite systems. First off, we have the Sega Dreamcast. What I love about the Dreamcast, it was my actual first online system. My uncle actually gave me his Dreamcast, and the first game I ever played was Ready to Rumble Boxing. But what made me love this system was the amount of arcade fighters and ports that came to it. Games like Power Stone, Marvel vs. Capcom, King of Fighters, the list goes on. There were a bunch of original games on the Dreamcast, and the VMU was also a dope memory card. It was something different I'd never seen before. And one of my favorite racing games, MSR Racing, had one of the dopest soundtracks. But the Dreamcast, unfortunately, just was at the wrong place at the wrong time. While it was dope, the PS2 came and said, hey, move over, buddy. But the Dreamcast was definitely a system I enjoyed. It gave me a bunch of memories, and it introduced me to some games I never thought I would play, like Shenmue. Coming in at number 9 is the Nintendo 64. And while it may not have aged as gracefully as one would expect or one would hope, this console still was the first foray into 3D gaming. And if y'all seen a commercial of the kid happy when he got his N64 for Christmas, that was definitely me, just with a darker skin tone. With native 4-player connection, it introduced me and my sister to multiplayer gaming together with other people, which was dope to me. This was a system that I got a lot of Blockbuster games from. Every weekend I was able to go to Blockbuster or Hollywood Video and just rent something new. So I was able to try a bunch of new games. It introduced me to series like Super Smash Brothers. Mario, Zelda, and Super Smash Brothers changed my life, but also changed a lot in gaming. Like it was the blueprint for what we will be getting today in multiplayer gaming, as well as adventures, RPGs. There was so much about the N64 that I liked. Coming in at number 8 was the 3DS. The 3DS was the last pure handheld system for Nintendo right before the Switch came out. The 3DS was the last handheld I had in college. The 3DS was like a JRPG new experience machine. Like Animal Crossing New Leaf was still, to me, one of the best Animal Crossing games. I put so many hours into that game. The first handheld Super Smash Brothers, the first Pokemon 3D game, so many memories and so many RPGs. Things like Street Pass made it cool to walk around busy places to see who you would connect with. The 3D eShop was dope and offered some old school SNES games, Game Boy games, and I could have all the Pokemon games at that time. The 3DS was just a dope handheld, and I still think today people should have a 3DS to play some games that may not be coming back, like Professor Layton or Fantasy Life, Rhythm Heaven. So many games and gems. Check out my video for 3DS games that you might have missed that you should get before the eShop closes. Number 7, oh wow, another Nintendo console. Yep, you right. The Super Nintendo. Man, the Super Nintendo brought us into that colorful golden age of gaming in the 90s, and it had so many games that would make me a fan of series that are still here today. One of my first RPGs, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, Secret of Mana. Some of the best platforming and video gaming still exist today. Games like Mario World, Yoshi's Island, the Donkey Kong Country series, the legendary headaches like Aladdin and Lion King. This was a system I played a lot with my grandparents, who really introduced me to gaming along with my mom and my uncle. The Super Nintendo really got a lot of variety that keeps it at the top of most folks' lists even today. Coming in at number 6, the Game Boy Advance. And yes, that's what you saw me holding up earlier, my custom Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance evolved the Game Boy and gave you the true handheld experience. In a time where 2D was thought to be just for handheld, the Game Boy Advance said bet, and got creative with familiar and new franchises. Pokemon evolved with, hey, too much water. Many Yu-Gi-Oh games, Zelda Minish Cap, the Metroid games, Mega Man Battle Network. Franchises were reinvented and new ones were made like Golden Sun. And Golden Sun is legendary. Final Fantasy Tactics, which you've seen me play on the channel, is one of my favorite games of all time, and it introduced me to the tactics genre. The Game Boy Advance was really a true testament to creativity with limited hardware, or so to say, how can I make the best game in handheld form with these graphics that we are blessed with? Still today, there are so many different games like Bowtie and Drill Dozer that you won't get another game like that today. Oh, finally, not a Nintendo console. Coming in at number 5 is the PS4. The PS4 was a monster, man, with single-player experiences, including better versions of PS3 games that came late. This system kept me in touch with the homies from college and high school with online functionality in games like Nier, Persona 5, Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man, Red Dead, and more of some of the best games I've ever played. This console really solidified Sony as one of the giants of movie quality gaming single-player experiences, but I also played a lot of Call of Duty and 2K during this time frame because it kept me in touch with the homies. There's still a bunch of great games like I just listed to try out from the PS4, and that's why it's my number 5 system. Coming in at number 4, and guess what? It's another Nintendo handheld. The Nintendo DS, one of the best libraries in gaming. And it was a new take on the handheld game. And when they first showed the DS, everybody was like, what? 2 screens? How is that gonna work? But there were so many JRPGs on this machine. The DS is still to this day one of the best JRPG machines that you can find. A bunch of older series coming back and utilizing the touchscreen with good reason. Free Pass, native chat. It was so many cool things on there. And with 2 screens, it was a game changer. And I still say to this day that the best era of Pokemon existed on the Nintendo DS. Because a lot of people stopped playing after either Gold and Silver or Ruby and Sapphire. And a lot of people miss Gen 4 and Gen 5, the Gen 2 remakes, which were some of the best games I've ever played. But the Nintendo DS will always have a soft spot in my heart because it was a system I had in college and I was one of the only people walking around with it. But anytime I checked my street pass in college and I was like, oh wow, I done met a bunch of new friends just off the fact that we all had our DS in our pocket and our street pass when I would say, hey, you passed this person today. That was so dope to me. Coming in at number 3, the only library that contends right now with the Nintendo DS and maybe the Switch is the PS2 library, which may still be number 1 to number 2 depending on who you ask. And most people will probably tell you about GTA, Tekken, and Metal Gear Solid. PS2 for me was the first time that I really got into JRPGs heavily. I was already playing them, but the PS2 introduced me to a lot of Shin Megami Tensei games. Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, Persona 3, Persona 4. I became a real stickler for JRPGs because of the PS2. And of course, games like NBA Street, Metal Gear Solid, and other things that kept me busy. There were so many games in the PS2. That library was amazing. And on top of it being a cheap DVD player for the time, you could not stop the PS2, and the PS2 is still one of my favorite systems to this day because it shaped a lot of what I like in gaming today. And coming in at number 2, the Nintendo Switch. And I know you're probably thinking, it's not number 1 as much as you talk about the Switch. No, but maybe soon because it's about 1 or 2 more releases before it becomes that number 1 system for me. But the Switch has been the most consistent system I've had fun with since I was a teenager. While many complain about power, the fun and diversity of games that this system has is unmatched. It is the JRPG machine of this generation. And I know a lot of ports aren't the best things, but when it comes to first-party games, exclusives, handheld, bringing franchises back that we thought we'd never see again. The Nintendo Switch really pushed on the nostalgia bug, but also gave us a lot of new games. Breath of the Wild was amazing. Metroid Dread, Fire Emblem, all these games. There were so many games for so many people, and that's what I love about the Nintendo Switch. No matter who you are, there is a game on this system for you. And when people say it's a family system, no, it's for everyone. That's why it says family, because grown-ups are also a part of your family. And the Switch has so much third-party support this time going around that there's really no reason that you shouldn't have a Switch at this point. A couple of honorable mentions before we get into that number one spot. First off, I'm gonna go Xbox 360, and I know y'all surprised. Xbox 360 was dope for me because it was a system I really didn't have, but my roommate and my next door neighbor had. So I played a lot of games. It introduced me to Mass Effect, Blue Dragon, Final Fantasy 13. We played a lot of NCAA football together. So Xbox 360 was, to me, one of the last great Xbox systems in my opinion. Yes, Game Pass is good, but the last great system to me is the Xbox 360 because they definitely had a variety of games, JRPGs, everything. They actually tried. The Wii was dope, and I love some of the games that came with it, but I know that the shovelware could be annoying for a lot of people, but there were a lot of hidden gems, a lot of games that were great. Super Smash Bros. Brawl was fun. Xenoblade Chronicles was rare at the time, and a lot of people don't know that we almost didn't get that series, but there was a petition for those games to come to America, and it worked out. And now today we have one of the best series on the Switch, and one of the best JRPG series because the Wii and the support for the Wii was so strong that a petition actually helped a couple of games come to America. The Sega Genesis, man, the Sega Genesis breeded competition for Nintendo. It had some of the best games I ever played. Where would we be without Sonic and the Mario rivalry, bro? Mortal Kombat with the Blood, Golden Axe, Vector Man, Earthworm Jim, like so many games that I love. One of my favorite tactical games was the Shining Force series. Such a fun time and such a great time. Sega had a bunch of dope games, but it could not outmatch the Super Nintendo at the time. And also my last honorable mention is the Game Boy Pocket / Color. And I know we could go with the original Game Boy, but the Game Boy Pocket / Color gave us some dope games like Pokemon Red, Pokemon Gold and Silver, a bunch of Mario and Donkey Kong Country ports. Those systems had so many options for what you want your system to look like. So you can have a blue one, a pink one, a light green one, a see-through, a clear, a purple frost. Like there were so many options. And I missed that about gaming today where you could get a console in so many different colors. But coming in at number one is, if you know me, you know the answer to this, the GameCube. The Nintendo GameCube was the system that had the most effect on how I game today. I was introduced to so many genres and series that I still love today or want today. And without the GameCube, I don't think I would be as much of a diverse gamer as I am today because of games like Harvest Moon or The Herbs and Animal Crossing. Those simulation games and life sim games are the reason that I love them today. Because I took a chance when I saw, ironically, this G4 TV commercial called Cinematech, and they showed a game called Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life. And I was like, is that a farming game? That looks kind of peaceful and cool. They showing it for a reason, let me try it out. And it was a wrap. Tales of Symphonia got me into those deep story games that I could actually see myself in or I can identify with the stories that they told. Super Smash Bros. Melee is still around today. Star Fox Assault, Custom Robo, Herb Sims in the City, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. What I love about the GameCube is how it did so much creatively. It tried new things with all of its flagship titles, all of its main characters. Mario, Luigi, Samus, Pokemon, they did something different and took a chance. Legend of Zelda Wind Waker was not like when it first seen. And then boom, it's one of the best games of all time. They even had compatibility with the Game Boy Advance that really made it cool to have different systems interacting with each other. When I'm playing Custom Robo or when I'm playing Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles and other people can play on their own screen with a Game Boy Advance link cable. Or if I'm playing Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life, and the Friends of Mineral Town, and if I hook them together, I can get people to visit from the other game to the other game, which was so dope to me. Pikmin and Chibi Robo had me wondering really what a game could be because they were so different. Creativity at this time really peaked among the GameCube, the PS2, the Xbox, the Game Boy Advance. And that's why the GameCube is probably my number one favorite system because I think that was when most gaming companies did not care. They said, I'm gonna try something and I hope it sticks. And they end up making some of the best games to date that many we might not ever see again. Maybe we won't get to see that creativity again, but hopefully it's there. Shout out to the indie games, shout out to Nintendo for still trying a little bit. But those are my top 10 systems, and let me know in the comment section what your favorite systems are. I did this video because I kind of want to get into talking about all of these systems and all the games that I love and giving y'all good suggestions. And again, this is just my list. So if you feel like you have a top 10 list that's better than mine, post your top 10 in the comment section. And I want to see exactly what games and systems you like so I can make suggestions. Also, I know you didn't think you was gonna see an Xbox Series X or Xbox One on this list. I'm sorry. Again, I appreciate y'all for watching this video. We almost at 500 subscribers. So help a brother out. See you next time.